Joining us in the studio is Dean Darling, longtime friend, and you probably know him as the voice of Marist basketball and working with Army and all the ESPN games that you do. So,
I appreciate you having me.
I wanted you to come in because I know there's a lot of juniors and seniors in high school, or even some college kids, who are wondering how are we going to get into this business. And it's not easy. It gets harder as the years go on, as it gets more popular. But I figured, you have some grassroots stories that you might be able to convey to some of our audience and tell them what you've been through and maybe give some suggestions of what they should be doing now.
Well, first of all, I never thought I was going to be a radio or a TV announcer. I went to college for basically clerical work, business administration, because in those vocational tests, I showed up good in that. I didn't even think about any kind of broadcasting. And the way I got my illustrious career started was one day I'm in English class at Arlington High School, and I get called down to the principal's office. Now, I'm not a bad kid, and I'm like, this is serious. Why am I getting called down to the principal's office? And the vice principal actually said to me, he said, Mr. Darling, he goes, the local radio station's going to be in town, and they're going to be doing the Arlington basketball game this Friday night. We need a statistician. We know you used to play with some of the players, and you know them, and it would probably help the other announcer. And the first thing I said was, I don't have to talk, right? And he goes, oh, absolutely not. You're just doing stats. So I show up that Friday night, and I introduce myself. I remember the gentleman's name from WKIP, still in existence now, 1450. I said, oh, hi, my name's Dean Darling. And he goes, oh, hi, Mike Warren. I understand you're going to be helping me tonight. And I go, I don't have to talk, right? He goes, absolutely not. So, okay, so I felt at ease. I had my chart all ready with the players' names and stuff, and the JV game went a little bit too long, and he had to come on the air. I think it was like 8 o'clock, and he comes on the air, and he goes, hi, everybody, I'm Mike Warren, WKIP, Game of the Week, Arlington, I believe they were playing Beacon, and he says, and now joining me is Dean Darling. And he shoves a mic in front of my face. And he goes, and Dean, give us a rundown on the team. I had played with some of the guys in earlier years, and I had to speak. And I was like, I didn't have time to get nervous.
Yeah, well, that's probably a good thing.
That was a great thing.
Were you right into it?
Yeah.
Right into it?
Yeah. And eventually, I became the regular color commentator for games my junior and my senior year. Then I went on to college. I was at SUNY Cobleskill, and they had this little radio station. It was like a closet, and I had to become a disc jockey. They didn't have sports. So I said, well, I'll get my foot in the door, and I was a disc jockey, and I was playing album-oriented rock and top 40, and I was there for 2 years. I graduated, and then I moved on to SUNY Fredonia. And when I was looking to transfer, I saw their college radio station, and I was like, wow. It was like a big-time radio station. Yeah. And I got in there, and the upperclassmen from the college, a lot of them were from New York City and Long Island. And they took me under their wing. I got my own radio show. Again, I was a top 40 disc jockey, but I got a chance to do sports. And we were the Fredonia State Blue Devils, and I got the chance to broadcast their games on radio. We would travel down to this area, New Paltz and Albany, weekend road trips. And it was a great experience, and I was on commercial radio, which then helped me put together a resume.
Sure. All right, so you've done all these things, ESPN, which people will recognize Dean now doing a lot of college games. What advice could you give to our viewers of how they should proceed to try and get in?
Well, you just hit it on the head. What you just said was, and I had talked to, actually, I got a note back and forth from Marv Albert because I had sent my tape to him through some connections, and he said, sit in front of a TV and take, back then, a tape recorder.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And record yourself. Turn off the sound. It's the weirdest thing in the world for you to do play-by-play with nobody else in the house. You're in a room by yourself off a TV monitor, right?
Yeah.
And then listen back, and then I would send him the tape. And he would critique it for me.
Really?
Yeah, I was very fortunate like that.
Yeah.
I had sent him a regular general tape, and then he said, try this too. So that's the first thing I would do. Colleges are so much more advanced now than when I went to school 40 years ago. I'm so, and I look at these college facilities.
Yes.
They didn't have TV either back then. Right. They didn't have TV studios, so their radio studios are unbelievable. And then, like you said, TV, learn as much as you can at the TV facilities. Now, I'm not the biggest proponent of a communications degree. I believe in getting, maybe if you're going to do communications, get a minor in business or something like that. I actually got a degree in business administration, a minor in economics, and I just was a sponge. And at the radio station, college radio stations, I learned from the upperclassmen, and I got a chance to go out in the field and do things. That's another suggestion of mine. It's to just get involved with your local radio station, especially on the college level.
And be persistent.
Be persistent.
Yeah.
And then volunteer if you work for a local TV station or something like you have here, you know, HVNN or, you know, Hudson Valley Sports. Volunteer to get involved. I know you got some young people here with us today, and that's great to get an opportunity, get behind the scenes, do stuff, and learn from other people's mistakes. It's a great way.
Yeah, and it's the hands-on, too. There's classroom training, and classroom training is great, but it's the hands-on stuff that is really going to kind of burn in your memory and give you the confidence that you need to be able to go out and do the things that you want to be able to do.
For young people out there, the more you do, the more you'll gain the confidence, like in any other vocation. And when you have confidence, you can go out and you can kill the world. You can really make a difference.
Yeah, good. Well, Dean, we want to thank you for sharing that insight and some of those great stories. And that's the lesson from the master. I consider him the best in the business. So, you know, if you're looking to get into this profession, start with that. Just start at those first few steps and just keep pursuing it. And persistence overcomes resistance. Just keep that in mind. That's going to do it for this edition of The Mashup. Thanks for joining us. We'd like to thank Dean Darling for joining us. And thank you for joining us as well. We'll see you next time here on The Mashup.